Donald Trump has a lot of court cases going on all across the country because lefties are trying to stop his candidacy by using the courtrooms to do it. And among the judges overseeing his fate is a Judge Juan Merchan. He's a Manhattan, quote, Supreme Court Justice, Juan Merchan. He's a lefty. He has a daughter who's a lefty activist. She's an adult. And Donald Trump has decided to raise, as a part of his defense, criticisms of their politics. For that, the judge has slapped an over-the-top, absurd First Amendment robbing gag order on Donald Trump. And then other judges have gone on television to attack Trump. In fact, this past week, a federal judge, U.S. District Judge Reggie Walton, went on CNN and then just started openly attacking Trump on air. Here's what that sounded like.
Well, it's very disconcerting to have someone making comments about a judge, and it's particularly problematic when those comments are in the form of a threat, especially if they're directed at one's family.
What kind of threat?
I mean, we do these jobs because we're committed to the rule of law, and we believe in the rule of law, and the rule of law can only function effectively when we have judges who are prepared to carry out their duties without the threat of potential physical harm.
I'm sorry. Show me where Donald Trump threatened physical harm against anyone. For more on this, I want to bring in Mike Davis now. He's the founder and president of the Article 3 Project, and he just filed a very important complaint about the audio you just heard. Mike, good to have you with us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
So just help me out here. What in the hell is the judge talking about? A threat? Did Donald Trump threaten anyone that you're aware of?
No, and this is actually very dangerous, what these Democrat lawyers and judges like this Judge Reggie Walton in D.C. are doing here. They're saying that if a criminal defendant raises evidence that a judge could be biased against that criminal defendant, that is considered a violent threat against the judge because people could, go attack the judge. That is an insane legal argument. That is a very dangerous legal argument that defendants cannot raise issues of bias. They can't pursue their legal rights during a criminal trial because they're going to be labeled someone who's leveling violent threats. And with this Judge Merchan in New York, this trial starts a week from Monday. And this Democrat judge in New York, Juan Merchan, has donated to Biden's campaign a small amount, but he donated in 2020 to Biden's campaign. He donated to another anti-Trump group, and his daughter is a political consultant. She's not a 5-year-old, as Julie Kelly says. She is an adult who runs a very lucrative political consulting, Democrat consulting company, where the New York Post is reporting she makes money fundraising off of her dad's trial of President Trump that starts on Monday.
Yes.
So that is a conflict of interest, or at a minimum, it's an apparent. At a minimum, it is the appearance of a conflict of interest, and Trump has every right to raise this.
So among the ways the left is trying to hurt Trump is not necessarily securing a conviction, although that is their dream. They would love to convict him and put him in prison. They just want to smear the guy. They want to put him through the court process just to make it so that the voters think that he stinks to high heaven and they shouldn't vote for him. So one of the defenses he's mounting in public and as a part of his campaign is, this is a hit job. These are Democrats. They're all trying to tear me down. Why can't a man say that when he's running for president, or even if you're not running for president?
He absolutely can. He has an absolute constitutional right to do this. If there's anyone on the planet who must have the constitutional right to speak out against the judge, his staff, his potential biases, the prosecutor, the witnesses, the process, it is a criminal defendant going through the criminal process. And to put an unconstitutional gag order and the illegal prior restraint on a criminal defendant's First Amendment rights and his Sixth Amendment rights, this is un-American what they're doing. These gag orders are un-American. They are illegal. If a defendant threatens a judge or a witness or a court personnel or a prosecutor, you can charge him with obstruction of justice. You can charge him with witness tampering. You don't put an illegal gag order on a criminal defendant. And you certainly don't have another judge, especially a federal judge, take it upon himself to go moonlight on CNN and comment about this, which is a clear violation of the judicial canons.
Let me, it's also why you so infrequently hear from judges and Supreme Court justices on these hot button political issues. They normally have the restraint to not get involved in those fights and arguments. Here's more from Judge Reggie Walton on CNN this past week. I want people to hear this.
I can't get into someone's mind to say whether they appreciate the impact that they're doing, but I would think that any reasonable thinking person would appreciate that when they say things that can sometimes resonate with others. And I think that's particularly true when you have somebody who has status in our society and they make certain statements. It can cause people to act on those statements, even if they don't necessarily intend for someone to do so. So I think it's very important that people in positions of authority be very circumspect in reference to the things that they say, so that they're not causing others to act on what they say and maybe cause injury or death to someone as a result of it.
Mike Davis, help me out. When I hear him say that, that sounds to me kind of like left-wing college radicalism, like the idea that words themselves are violence. You may say something that may inflame someone else. That sounds insane to me.
First of all, I would say that Judge Reggie Walton should follow his own advice, and he actually must follow his own advice because he has the judicial canon. So maybe he should just keep on his judicial robe and not take it off and climb into the political arena, and certainly not throw punches at criminal defendants going through the process, and definitely not a criminal defendant who happens to be the leading presidential candidate during the height of the presidential election. Because guess what? When federal judges do that, they invite political punches back at them, and that's exactly what we've done at the Article 3 project. And I don't remember this Judge Reggie Walton saying a damn word when the Biden White House press secretary and the Biden Justice Department encouraged illegal obstruction of justice campaigns outside of the homes of conservative Supreme Court justices and their families, even after they got sent to safe houses, even after Justice Kavanaugh, his wife Ashley, and their two teenage daughters faced a 1 a.m. assassination attempt. I don't remember Judge Reggie Walton talking about the death threats that led to a prison sentence for the deranged lunatic who threatened Judge Eileen Cannon down in Florida. So then you have to ask, does Judge Reggie Walton have a political bias? If people say things about judges that he likes, that he doesn't criticize it. If he doesn't like what they say about judges, then he does criticize it. Seems like this is why judges need to stay out of the political arena, because they invite these questions.
Well, this judge has not been shy about running his suck when it comes to his dislike for Trump. He's in his own courtroom. He's done this a number of times. Caitlin Collins on CNN reading out some of the examples to him. Now, all of a sudden, he doesn't really want to talk about those claims. Listen.
You're someone who has always been really straightforward in your assessment of the former president. You know, if you read your comments when you're sentencing people, when you're in these cases, you once referred to him as a charlatan at the sentencing of a January 6th defendant. I know you've gotten a lot of those cases before you. You've said that you don't think he cares about democracy, only power. That you once seemed to suggest you weren't sure he'd accept defeat if he lost in this election. Do you still feel that way tonight?
I'd rather not comment on that. I mean, I've made those, the comments I've made in the context of the sentencings I impose, because I'm hoping that what I say to the individuals who I'm sentencing will resonate with them and cause them to rethink the activity that they engaged in that brought them before the court, and hopefully deter them from engaging in further conduct of that nature in the future.
Mike Davis, I detect cowardice in the answer there, almost like he doesn't want to defend what he actually said in court.
Well, and it's also this. He knows that when he's doing this interview, this unprecedented interview on CNN with 500,000 viewers, and it's gotten several million follow-up views, he knows what he's doing. He knows that Caitlin Collins is going to read the transcript from the sentencing hearings on this interview. And then he could play like, oh, I'm just following the judicial canons. I'm not going to respond to that. No, that's not what he did. He went on TV to attack a criminal defendant during the process. And he attacked that criminal defendant because he doesn't like that criminal defendant's politics.
Mike, as you point out in your capacity at the Article 3 project, you have filed a complaint now against this judge, Reggie Walton. Give us a sense of, just for the layman among us, what does this mean that you filed this complaint, and what kind of consequences could be imposed if it's looked upon favorably?
Well, this violates Canon 3A6 of the judicial canons, the Code of Conduct for the Judges. Judges are not allowed to make extrajudicial comments outside of court comments about pending cases or pending matters. That's exactly what Judge Reggie Walton has done here. It's highly prejudicial to President Trump because he has 4 jury pools now in New York and D.C. and Atlanta and in the Southern District of Florida who have heard a D.C. federal judge say that President Trump has lodged violent threats against another judge and his family, which is absolutely ludicrous. There's no way you can read what President Trump said on his truth post as a physical threat in any way. And so
it's also defamatory to say something like that, isn't it?
Well, you would think so. You know, we hear that the Democrats pretend like President Trump doesn't have immunity for what he did in his official acts. I wonder if judges take that same position of President Trump sues him for defamation, which he should do. But look, I would say this is part of a pattern with these D.C. judges. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik filed a judicial misconduct complaint against Judge Beryl Howe, another Democrat judge in D.C. who went out and did a speech where they were trashing Trump. So you have Beryl Howe doing this. She was a little bit smarter about it. She was a little bit more coy about it. Then you had Reggie Walton doing it. And he just took off the robe and put on the boxing gloves and got into the political arena. And this needs to stop. And I would say to these Obama judges and Biden judges that control the D.C. circuits, if you do not get your house in order, I promise you I will make it my mission to make sure that Congress does it for you. I was the chief counsel for nominations on the Senate Judiciary Committee with the oversight portfolio over the federal judiciary, including their security, their funding, their ethics. I will be the biggest pain in their ass possible for the next 2 years if the D.C. Circuit tries to sweep this under the rug, because this is unacceptable for a federal judge to go on CNN and criticize any criminal defendant. Remember, Trump is a billionaire former and likely future president. It's not right what they're doing to him, but he can withstand this. But this sets a very dangerous precedent for many other people in America who don't have $1 billion and don't have the platform that Donald Trump has. And this needs to stop. Remember, they're not just going after Trump.
Yes.
They're going after his supporters on January 6th. They're going after parents. They're going after Christians. At the Article 3 Project, we've said enough of this BS. We're fighting back.
I'm glad you are. Lastly, Mike Davis, the way that the left treats judges in the United States, if they're judges that the left likes, they're apparently above scrutiny in our constitutional republic. We're not allowed to scrutinize them at all. We're not allowed to dig into whether they have conflicts of interest. But if they're judges or justices that the left hates, like Clarence Thomas, then we get to know every mile of every RV trip he's ever taken. This is the way they act. How did we get here? How did we get to the point where judges in the United States of America are above scrutiny?
Because President Barack Obama stacked the D.C. Circuit and the D.C. District Court with left-wing radicals when they got rid of the 60-vote threshold in the Senate to confirm these judges, and that the D.C. Circuit and the D.C. District Court is full of Obama radicals and a bunch of cowardly Republicans with very few exceptions.
All right, Mike Davis with the Article 3 Project, keeping up the good fight as always. Sir, thank you very much. Good to talk to you today.